How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be replacing the brakes on my 2014 F150. We're going to do all four corners, so I'm going to show you how to replace brakes on a F150 or similar pickup truck. Alright, so here are the brake pads. These are for the front and all the mounting hardware, and then these are for the back. We have some brake clean, C-channel, vice clamp, and then here are the rotors. These are for the front, and then these are for the back. So I had done the brakes on this truck before, and I don't know what happened, but I don't know if I got a bad set of brake pads or rotors, but they're squeaking. So I'm gonna replace them. I'm gonna try doing a more aggressive heat cycle. I don't know if I didn't heat cycle them just enough. So yeah, so basically the brakes that are on the truck now are gonna look brand new, or pretty new. So basically, when the pad meshes to the actual rotor through its initial heat cycle, if I replace the pad or the rotor, I think it would still be squeaking because they wouldn't be bonded properly to each other. So that's why I'm replacing them, and hopefully this time it is a success. So yep, we'll get started here. So I'm gonna do the passenger front side first and then move over to the driver side front. So before we jack up this side, obviously for safety, make sure you have some type of wheel chocks. We're on a little bit of an incline, so just make sure you have your wheel chocks there, and then we can start jacking the truck up. Alright, so we got the jack right there, and then I put the jack stand, and I'm just going to leave it like that. It's perfectly stable. You can wiggle it around. It's not going nowhere. So I'm going to start unbolting the lug nuts and then take the tire off. Alright, so here are the brakes with the tire pulled off, and so what we're going to do is we're going to unbolt this bolt here, and that'll allow us to swing this assembly up and then get the brake pads off, and then we'll work on getting the rotor off. So this bolt is going to be a 1/2 inch. Alright, so we got that bolt removed, so now we just take a screwdriver and kind of pry this up and out of the way. So this guy, kind of do that, then flip it up out of the way, and now we can move on to removing these pads. Lift this out of the way, and you pull the brake pads out, and then set them on the ground. Alright, so now we got the brake pads pulled out, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to unbolt this bolt right here and this one up here, so that we can undo this assembly right here, so we can get to the actual brake rotor or disc. Alright, so we just unbolted the two bolts that are holding the piston caliper on, and then we're gonna unbolt these bolts back here to get this bracket off. Alright, so we got the arm off, and now we can use a hammer or a mallet to get the rotor off. I was looking at these brake pads, so I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't know if I got a defective pair of brake pads, but I didn't replace these too awful long ago, and this one's worn extremely uneven from the, I think this is the inside, and this is the outside. Some of that's due to some of the piston and the caliper itself, or if it's just a bad pair of brakes and maybe just they didn't get heat cycled perfectly, you know, well enough. And by the way, the bolt on the back that holds part of the caliper bracket is a 13/16. Alright guys, so I could not get this rusted rotor off, so what I did is I went to the auto parts store and I got a bolt with a nut, and then on it a little bit smaller than what the diameter is of this bolt that goes through the bottom of the spindle to hold the bracket. So I went to the auto parts store and got that so I can kind of force this guy off here, see if this works. Alright, so we got that off. That actually ended up working out pretty good. So pull this rotor off. So here's the new rotor. We're gonna have to actually spray brake clean all the way around this to clean it off of any material that might be on it from the factory to keep it from rusting. Flip it over, we'll do the same thing. Like so. Alright, so we got the bracket back on, and now we're just going to tighten up this bolt and this bolt, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, so we're over here on the driver's side, and something that I like to do is once I get the caliper bracket on and the new rotor on, I will actually put the wheel and tire back on and zip down 3 or 4 bolts to get the rotor fully seated in place, depending on how hard it is to put your wheel and tire back on and off, just so that I can get the rotor seated so that it's not rubbing on the caliper bracket right there. Alright, so this is the other side. We got the piston bolted back up here, and then we got our new pads. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and got those brand new clips put in place, the bottom and the top one. So we're going to go ahead and set these in place. Do the bottom one or the back one. Oh my gosh, sorry. Alright, so now those are in place. We'll see if this caliper will fit. Slide this back on. Awesome. So, if it doesn't fit on like this, basically just take a pair of a C-clamp, and you're going to pinch this piston back to its farthest position inward. And when you do that, before you do that, I would suggest unscrewing your cap on your brake fluid reservoir, just so that when you're pushing pressure into the system, it can escape out, and you're not over pressuring anything when you go to push this piston back. So now we're gonna put this last bottom bolt in down here, and then we'll tighten the 2 bolts holding the piston caliper. Alright, so now we have everything buttoned backed up, we got everything tightened back down, and then now we're going to put the wheel and tires back on. These are the front brakes. We just did the front brakes for this video. we're gonna go heat cycle them, and I'll show you how to do that next, or the best to my knowledge of how to do so, to basically bed the brake pad to the brake rotor. This is I don't think I did this last time that I replaced the brakes, so it caused some squeaking and some squealing. So I'm hoping that a proper heat cycle, a good couple heat cycles in them, will keep them from squeaking in the future. Alright guys, so we're on a back road, so we're going to get up to 35 miles an hour and then apply the brakes. And we're going to do this a couple different times, getting up to 35 miles an hour and then hitting the brakes and slowing down, applying just moderate pressure. And we're going to do this about 6 times potentially. Trying to get up to 30 miles an hour and just, you know, hit the brakes and slow down. There's people behind me. There's no one ever on this road, but for some reason today there is. Okay, so once again we're going to get up to 30 miles an hour, 35, and then hit the brakes, but don't stop completely. Do this again, get up to 35, and then hit the brakes, but don't stop completely. Alright, so now that we've done that enough times, we're gonna go out here onto another road, and then now we're gonna go up to 45 miles an hour and do this a couple more times. Get up to 45. Alright. So do the 45 one more time. But we're not going to stop all the way. And now we're going to get up to 55 and do the same thing. Again. Alright, so the very last one we're going to do is we're going to get up to 65. And we're going to do this twice. Get up to 65 and then brake. I'll do that one more time.